Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Saturday, and it's the Pocket Change Market Report. This is your one-stop shop for all the greatest information of the relevant errors and varieties that exist out there in circulation. So however you look for your neat finds or whatever you like to search through, whether it's coin roll hunting or maybe you like going through your kids' piggy bank, whatever the case may be. This is a great place to go to get an idea of how much your coins can be worth. And I think I could speak for a few people that this can be not only a great way to supplement your hobby, to really go out there and find stuff for your collection on the cheap, but also a great way of supplementing your income as well. You know, oftentimes most folks don't think about going through just full bankrolls of coin to find some of these errors of varieties, let alone going to maybe a local coin shop that you like to frequent, or maybe there's a show in town that you want to check out. You can always cherry pick a really nice error variety that otherwise has gone through unseen by the dealers. Sometimes most coin dealers would say that some of these errors and varieties that you're going to see on, online or just in the community might be a little bit too minor for them to deal with. So this would be a good opportunity for a lot of you folks to recognize that and pick those up for an unattributed price and really take advantage of everything that it has to offer. Again, I think that the big one is being able to cherry pick a coin, turn around and reselling it. Now, if you're a regular here, you guys know all the coins I talk about are ungraded. Why go through all the trouble and the extra expense of grading your coins through PCGS or NGC? A lot of the coins featured in this video are worth anywhere from about maybe $5-10 to as high as a couple $100. And sometimes it's just not relevant in the landscape of reselling these coins because they will certainly sell themselves. You're, if you take great pictures, you upload them, you put in a nice description, you should do okay. I know I do. I probably, out of 100 coins, maybe would grade one, or find one that is grade worthy. And that's just the frequency of some of these coins and, just the need to have them authenticated. And I know this day and age, a lot of people are really hung up on grading their coins, regardless of how they look like. And I'm telling you, it's unnecessary for any of the coins being featured in today's list. All right, so of course, I got to do the good old YouTube thing. Thank you again for joining in on this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And let's jump in to the goods this week, starting out with a coin now I'd say most people have overlooked, and it sure looks like it because this thing is circulated quite a bit. It's not a Mint-State BU coin by any stretch, but it's a 1983 P Kennedy half dollar. You half-dollar roll hunters, make sure you pay attention to coins like this. Now, the front of the coin appears to be slightly off-center, but when you look at the reverse of the coin, it's perfectly centered. So what exactly do we have here? Well, we have a coin that was struck by a misaligned die. Okay, and normally that's going to be that die that holds the obverse on there. Generally, that's going to be the hammer die. But yeah, this is a great one to look out for. At first glance, it's not a major error, but it is an error. I would say this is more on the minor side. This is just a great example of a coin that you absolutely do not need to grade at all. This one ended up selling for $15.53. Now, let's take a moment to really kind of explore why people would even go through half-dollar rolls. Anyone? Well, finding silver, right? That's the big thing. But if you're overlooking coins like this, which is worth nearly 90% silver half dollars, then you're really not realizing the full potential of what a box of half dollars can give you. Make sure you're looking out for coins like this because, again, people tend to throw these back without any care in the world, and you're really throwing away silver is what it is. $15 right here is not nothing. Now, this is a relatively new-ish Jefferson Nickel, as you can see, it's a 2020, and also note the mid mark. These were produced in Philadelphia. Now, this is a probably least spectacular version of a coin that I've seen sell here in the recent past. But as you can see on the reverse, there's something going on Monticello. There is indeed a strike through, which is caused by just a little bit of lump of grease with some mixed in debris, metal shavings, things like that. So when it's on the die and it strikes onto a host coin, you're actually going to have a deep crevice or a void right there. And that's what we see right here in this area. Now, I've seen some that are much more larger and spectacular. However, this one, take it for what it is and take the money and run. It sold for $17.51 with 2 bids. And apparently, this is a very common anomaly to find on these 2020 nickels. Make sure you're looking out for these. When you could get 10, 20 bucks a piece, that's, pretty much worth it right there. There's a little bit of a close-up just so you guys know what to look out for. Again, this is a coin that you could honestly see with the naked eye. And then to a lesser extent, you do have a little bit of feet or finger damage here on the die that's translated into these kind of like diagonal lines in some of these devices here. What's also worth noting, this is also a double the die reverse. You can see just this little thing, this little spike thing coming out here is actually doubling of, I believe, the top of the doorway right here. I don't know what the attribution is. I didn't care to look because they're all quite minor, but that's another thing to keep in mind as well. All right, so this is a pretty spicy coin right here. 1941 Lincoln wheat cent. This one is struck off center by, I would say, 15%. It's a very attractive coin. It is oh so close to being a just uncentered broad strike, but with some of the devices being cut off on this edge here, this is more along the arena of an off-center strike. But off-center strikes of some of the obsolete coins of our day, this is a Lincoln cent. Sure, it's still being produced, but the wheatback design is quite popular with its collector base, and for those people that are actually looking for dates of specific off-center strikes, will pay a little bit more money than usual. This one ended up selling for $78.89, which is a fair amount of money for this coin, given its condition. Now here's a very spectacular looking 1970D Lincoln Memorial cent. This one is about off-center by, I would say, 55%. It's like right in the middle there. But this features a full date and mint mark, and that matters most to collectors of this particular error type. Again, people do collect these by date, so that's a relevant archetype for this type of series. This one ended up selling for $22.85 with 17 bids. While it features a full date and mint mark, I could honestly say that this is one of the more readily available dates out there that you could find, with very little searching. So if you did need this one, this is a good one to get. Now, a San Francisco minted off-center strike is quite a bit more scarce and will command a lot more money. I just don't see those types come up on the market. We're on to a little bit of paper. We got our first one here. How about a 69D series $1 bill? All right, so what we have here is just a generally clean looking note. At first glance, you're not going to notice anything that really kind of catches your eye. The note appears to have circulated a little bit. It's in, not too bad a shape. Nothing going on with the respective first and third prints here. The serial numbers look all good. There's no mismatches or fancies in there. But when you flip over the note, what do we get? One of my favorite things to talk about. This is a partial front to back wet ink transfer. All right, so as these notes are being printed on the sheet, keep in mind it's 32 up on a single sheet. The subject sheet, what am I talking about, right? So these sheets are being printed in rapid succession. So when the sheets are stacking on top of each other after the print has resolved, obviously you have a little bit of that wet ink that hasn't dried on there that will transfer on to other notes. Now, in today's BEP currency production. That's less of an issue due to some technological advances. You're not going to see these wet ink transfers on, say, a brand new dollar bill. You just don't see them that often, if any. This one right here ended up selling for $137.50, and that's through 30 bids. There was a lot of activity on this one, and keep in mind, there have been a few attempts to counterfeit this type of error. And I will say this, for a wet ink transfer of authentic nature, keep in mind that the transfer is going to be mirrored. It's going to be backwards, okay? If you see one, and I've talked about it and have showcased one here that had sold probably a month or two ago, that had the wet ink transfer not mirrored. That one obviously is a fake, but this is a real deal one right here. Again, a partial, probably like a 60%er. Yeah, $137, you know, very strong money. Now here's another one right here. We have a 69C series, $20 Federal Reserve note. Yeah, I mean, you can see that pretty clearly. The entire third print portion of the note is shifted way to the right, and you have a lot of overlap. The green seal obviously is way off to the right from where the 20 is, and then that darker district seal is overlapping onto the portrait. Again, a very desirable error type when it's this far misaligned. This one ended up selling for $177.50 with 23 bids. Again, this is kind of one of those classic cases. You don't need to grade stuff like this because, well, you know, the proof is in the pudding. There you go. A really nice, highly desired note. Now, you'll see on the reverse here, just showing a little bit of the circulation where you do have that full, hard centerfold, you know, with some waves in the paper there. So I would say it probably net grades like a VF35 in paper money, I guess, grading speak. A decent looking note, and you know, it's a very honest, problem-free type. Now here's one of your more basic mint errors to find out there. Now it's not beautiful, and it looks like someone spilled some grape jelly on there at one point, but it's a 64D. A little bit tougher date to find a curved clipped planchet. This is one right here. It's not in the greatest of shape, but it is an example. It does show a little bit of Blakesley effect on both the obverse and reverse of the coin, but this one ended up selling for $10.49 with 3 bids. On to more paper money, this time a much newer 2001 $1 bill. Now, this one is going to fool a lot of people because of how minor it is, but we do have a little shift of that third print on this one. So you'll see, like, for example, the green district seal is a little bit far, you know, misaligned from where the underprint 1 is. You're going to find that this portion of the serial number is overlapping the number 1 print on there. So it's little things like this that you keep an eye out on, and you know, you should do really well. And you know, again, this note is not nothing. These generally command a little bit of a premium. To give you an idea, this one did sell for $62.06 with 28 bids, and I think it kind of helps that the note overall is in really good shape. It appears to have been pulled out of a fresh BEP bank strap at one point, and again, condition really does matter to a lot of collectors of this type. Oh boy, we have brand new quarters. They have been circulating for the last few weeks, and there has been one, I would say, relatively minor error that has been discovered on these coins. Nothing like super major, not yet, but at least this is something, and this is going to be really up to the market to decide if whether or not this has any longevity or staying power. But this is a 2022. Keep in mind, it's a Philadelphia minted Maya Angelou American Ladies Quarter. This one, of course, has that beautiful Washington obverse that I would say 100% of the people really do love. And I think, you know, you can kind of sense the sarcasm there because this is like a love it or hate it obverse for whatever reason. But you guys know why this is even on here is because it was an original design by Laura Garden Frazier. And as you guys know, it's an American Women series of quarters, so they have to use that obverse on there to help kind of commensurate a little bit of the, what the series is about. But what are we talking about here? What's the error everybody's been glossing over? It's a stupid little die chip, drooling, herpes, whatever you want to call it. These have been found, and they come in various different types of progression stages. Now, this is what I consider to be kind of like your more medium or moderate progression. It shows a pretty nice die chip right there, but I have seen some with a big old nasty crusty gob of goo on there at one point. And I haven't seen one sell yet, but I have seen some pop up. And this one right here is, a good one. And there was actually a seller that's been selling these for $19.99 shipped. And the seller had them in quantity. And I believe the seller had sold out of every example that he or she had. But here's another one from a different seller. This one ended up selling for $20.68. Again, I would love to see an example of that much later progression, larger die chip. I think that one's going to be the one to get. But let's call a spade, and let's just say that this particular coin, this error, is the error of the Maya Angelou series. And again, it comes in a few different progressions. I'd like to see the later progression. I know I'm repeating myself, and it's dumb. But this could be the error of this particular first release. It remains to be seen. Let's see what else is out there. $20, a pop right now has been a very healthy number in the marketplace. So something to keep in mind. Look out for these. Oh, nothing like a really nice high-grade off-center struck Zinken. This one right here has no date. And again, you can make the argument that most people want that full date and mint mark, but this one's just in really nice shape, and it ended up selling for $15.49 with a couple bids. Nothing super fancy, but if you wanted a nice higher-graded example, this is the one here for you. Now, this picture is not very good, but it's a 1943S Lincoln wheat cent. Features a pretty nice cud right here at the base of Lincoln's bust. One of the more common cuds that you could find on this series. Now, the coin is kind of deceptive based off of these images. They were shot in a 2x2, and the pictures were really small, so I had to blow them up a little bit to kind of show what the surfaces look like. Kind of hard to tell if this is a reprocessed or replated cent, or if this is just a really nice mid-state example with very little wear. It's kind of hard to say. And again, I can't stress this enough. Take your coins out of the cardboard and plastic and shoot them naturally. That's where you're going to get the best overall images. And this one, unfortunately, does not do it for me, but you do know there's a cut there, and that's what ultimately sold this one for $43.49. So make sure you're looking out for these. Even examples with cuds on beaters and rusted coins do sell for a little bit of a premium as well. All right, how about a little market check-in with the wide AMs? We got 1998. I like talking about these at least once a week. What are we looking at? They're very common, except for the 1999, which is the one you want to find. Wide AM, reverse. So you got that pretty nice sizable gap between the A and M in America. Here's a little bit of a close-up for you. The coin, as you can see, is in decent shape. It's nothing that's going to blow you away as far as grade-wise, but this one's still sold for $15.50 with 7 bids. So the market is still there for these, and especially one that exhibits the kind of circulation wear as this. I'd say that's not too bad. Now here's a 17S, a little bit tougher date, not exactly, a rarity by any stretch, but check out that reverse on there. It's got the tiger stripe kind of wood grain look to it. Keeping in mind that the early compositions of these were copper, just a little hint of tin and zinc. All right, so when you have this improper alloy mix, it's going to translate into a few things. One of them is going to be this kind of like wood grain look. Which is widely collected in the community. They call them woodies, and there are a few very spectacular collections out there, aka Coin Dragon. Frank has been collecting these for a while now. He's got a pretty impressive lineup of Lincoln wheat cents of this type. But yeah, this again, another one to look out for, and you can find them as later as the 1950s. So these woodies are very desirable. They do have a little bit of a premium. This one right here sold for $8.59 with 4 bids, so not too shabby. Now, this is what I consider to be the prototypical steel cent out there, all right? As far as overall circulation wear and just how ugly it looks. However, there is a little bit of beauty to be found in something so ugly. As you can tell, it's got a pretty sizable rim-to-rim crack at the base of Lincoln's bust, which only can be referred to as a retained die break. All right, so it's a pre-cut. Eventually, it's turned into a full-blown one. There is a little bit of displacement, which helps support the retained die break argument or pre-cut. This one ended up selling for $23.50 with 3 bids, and that's a fair rate for this coin that exhibits some corrosion and all sorts of other stuff going on. Not pretty, but it is an example. Oh boy, now this coin's been thrown away a few times. As you could tell, I mean, the coin has been to, through the ringer. 1947 nickel is, to a lot of our eyes, just worth 5 cents. But this particular seller had found out that this one is a clamshell lamination. You guys see that split along the edge there? So the planchet was defective before the strike. As you can tell, it's got that split. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could probably split this thing apart, but don't do that. You're going to lose a lot of value doing that. This one sold for $19.99. Again, the grade is not fantastic. If this was a much higher grade, like an XF or higher, this would probably have been like a $50 plus coin. But in reality, this 1901 Liberty Head nickel is going to be your byproduct of what would happen if you did split the two halves apart. You certainly get that nice kind of like rock wall face appearance to the one side. Fortunately, we have the side with the date and the actual Liberty bust on there, which is fantastic. The coin, has circulated a lot, and it really is a speculation on when this coin split apart, because even after the split, it's circulated a lot more, and the coin is quite a bit more thinner as a result. This one sold for $34 with 8 bids. All right, be on the lookout for these. People are still finding these, and there's always probably about a good dozen of them that are being sold every week. 2020 Philadelphia Lincoln Shield cent. Off-center by about 10%. There you go. That's what you're looking at. And this one sold for $16.99. That's easy money right there. Not saying that you're going to come across like a huge cache of them. But, maybe you find one or two and it's all worth it. Now, this one's pretty neat. I think I have a little bit more newfound respect for the Beehive die chips. This is on 2021, the outgoing year of coins, which has exhibited tons of various errors of all types and all rarities and all different values. This one right here has a pretty nice multiple die chip kind of issue going on here. This is a very common place for this anomaly or anomalies. This one is a rather much more later stage event of these chips, and you know why they call them beehives, because they're stuck to the side of the building and they look like a beehive. I thought I made that perfectly clear. And this one sold for $10.50 with 8 bids. Keep in mind, the coin looks like it circulated a good deal before it was finally pulled out of change. And here's a 1972 Roosevelt Dime. This one right here, a little bit of an uncentered broad strike. The seller even mentioned that there's some cupping. Reserve your right for any snickering in here. But cupping usually occurs when the coin, kind of like develops a rim to the point where it's curved and looks like maybe a cereal bowl in some cases. A pretty nice high-grade example. 1972 is not a date that you see come up too often for broad strikes and off-center strikes, so this one does have some desirability in the marketplace to the tune of $10. I mean, it's not too bad. $10 bill is a pretty good rate for this all day long. There's a 83p. Good old 83. I didn't know they made so many off-center strikes back in the day, but here's another example. This one's quite nice. It's got a pretty considerable spread there at about 20%. Full date, mint mark. It seems to be in pretty decent shape. The pictures aren't the greatest. And this one sold for $46.75 with 25 bids. Again, a very active one. Which is generally about twice the price of what I've seen other comparable 1983 off-center strikes sell for. Well, guys, again, take those coins out of the 2x2s. You're going to eliminate a lot of glare and out-of-focus issues, which that plastic that goes over the coin will certainly not help. This is a 78D Lincoln Memorial Cent with a little bit of a cud there at the base of Lincoln's bust. Not a fantastic example. It's circulated. It's got a few scratch and dings and whatnots on there. This one, however, surprising amount of money. Again, proving once again, cuds are king. Sold for $34 with 17 bids. Fantastic. All right, for those of you that like to cherry pick proofs, I'm sure a lot of folks have overlooked this coin. I know I have, and I think I might have to check my inventory of 64 proof nickels. A coin that I've just avoided at all costs because of how unspectacular they are. But this is a good one here, sold by Gem on eBay. Again, one of our favorite variety sellers. A lot of great inventory, a lot of high-grade stuff as well. And this one is not only a double-to-die obverse, but a double-to-die reverse as well. DDO number 1 and DDR number 1. You can tell just by looking at these devices, the date, Liberty, even that star. You have a lot of really cool stuff going on here. And on a proof coin, it's again relevant. Any varieties and errors on proof coins will most assuredly just heighten the value of these coins above and beyond what a non-variety error type would go for. This one sold for $33.65. Beautiful looking coin right here. Speaking of beauty, how about a double struck Lincoln Memorial Cent, 1999, and it's on there twice. This is a dual date error, which is cool, and you don't see these that often, mainly because the area of the secondary strike will normally be anywhere else other than the date area, and you can tell this is a Philadelphia coin because that secondary strike right there doesn't have a mint mark. Really cool. And this is what they call a uniface because you don't have any secondary design details on the reverse where that off-center strike is. Really cool coin. And I could see why that this one ended up selling for $76.99. There was a total of 7 bids battling it out for this one. Just a really good example. Again, you know, these are always going to be desirable. The dual dates, I think, is probably the more premier aspect of this coin. Keep that in mind. If you find these at like coin shows for a fraction of the price, because they are a quote-unquote Zinken. Dealers hate Zinkens, by the way. I'm probably speaking for maybe 25% of the dealers out there, but yeah, another good one to be on the lookout for. You know, some people see bargains, some other people see just true gems here. And here's a coin that you can easily cherry pick because I take it from me, I've seen quite a few of these. 1936 Buffalo Nickel, not a high grade example, probably a net VG8 with a pretty substantial either strike through or a delamination. That's a pretty deep one too. That's like, it looks like a leech had landed on it and had sucked it dry of all of its life. This one right here sold for $23, and that's with 10 bids. So quite a bit of activity on this one. Now, this is our only kind of like pseudo lot on the list. We do have 2 coins sold in the same listing, a 1999 centered broad strike, which is just chef's kiss worthy, condition. And then that 2000 right there, which is like off center by about 15%. Again, another great duo of coins. If you're looking to put together a nice little error set on the cheap, this is one right here for you. There you go. There's some reverse images. Again, that broad strike's just lights out. It's beautiful. This one sold for $17.30. Now, this one's really neat. This is a combination of a few things. This is a Lincoln Memorial cent. It's a copper bronze era, so pre-1983. And it's struck through a cap die. Furthermore, it's also a partial brockage. All right, you can see that there. So, something happened with that die cap. Maybe it folded a little bit or something to that effect. It's neat. This is a neat coin to just look at and stare at all day long. A really good example at that, too. This one sold for $79.99. Just a beautiful example of this error. If you guys aren't looking for this particular variety, then I don't know what to say. I feel like I'm not doing my job. You can only lead so many horses to the water hole. 1935 Buffalo Nickel, double the die reverse, or FS 801 in the Cherry Picker's Guide. You want a little close up. You're going to look at, well, before we get there, you're going to notice that there is a little bit of a ding right here. A dig right by E pluribus unum. So not a perfect coin. It might details grade. It's about a VG8 as well, but go ahead and check out the doubling on 5 cents. This is where all the action is on the coin. So make sure you're looking out for these. Even in much lower condition, they are highly identifiable, but make sure you're using your loop to make sure. This one sold for $32.50. Again, that's a fair amount of money, even with a little bit of a damage on the reverse. All right, how about a little bit of update on this bad boy right here? So it's a 2021 Lincoln Shield cent. As you guys know, they had the multiple stages of die cracks and retain cuts. So this is the die crack version, the much earlier stage of this progression. And this one, pretty decent pictures here. This one ended up selling for $359.99. The envelope continues to get pushed on this particular progression to the $350 to $400 range, and the money has been consistent. There's been a lot of haters out there saying that this coin is overpriced, it's not worth it, there's plenty more to find, and, the market has responded to a certain way to these coins. And when you have multiple copies of the same damn coin selling for $350 to $400, tells you something. All right. These have all the value in the world. They are a very spectacular error on a much later dated coin where some would say, wow, the technology should be to the point where these things are perfect. But it's an imperfect world. Screws fall out all the time. People screw up. It's a world still dominated by human beings. So stuff like this still out there. Again, the price is justified. $350 to $400. Strong money, and we continue to see maybe at least 1 or 2 examples sell every day in that wheelhouse. Now, we haven't seen a wounded eagle in quite some time, but we have this example here that, is not pretty. I mean, this is I guess, soda machine, vending machine coin right here. If I ever saw one, it's been just recycled a million times in a soda machine, touched by many hundreds of hands. But this is a good one right here. FS901 is the main attribution number in the Cherry Picker's Guide for this one. It's not the greatest looking example, but you do still have that die gouge that goes through the breast area of the eagle here. And then there is a little bit of a secondary gouge as well. So they come in pairs. You're not going to find them with just one. This one pretty well circulated. It's not a fun example to have, but it is one. And we haven't seen one of these in quite a while. Probably the last like 2 or 3 weeks. This one right here, a best offer was accepted. Their original ask was $103.68 with shipping, of course. But I couldn't get my Terapeak or 130 point to work to find out how much this one sold for. Probably like $80 has been the normal. Still a good one to find, very valuable. And here's another good one right here. Yeah, what's going on there on the bottom left of the note? This $20 bill obviously was a note on the corner of a sheet because there was indeed a fold before the print happened. Look at the back there. So the corner of the sheet was folded, and then the respective prints occurred on there. And then the notes were subsequently cut. And then, a little butterfly fold is what they call this error, folded back out, and it revealed a spectacular looking event right here. These are always quite desirable. Again, I couldn't get Terapeak or 130 Point to work for me this morning. $408 is what the original asking price. A best offer was accepted. This was also sold by one of the bigger currency dealers on eBay. Lee Love is the name. So very nice note, very high grade, and very desirable. These are generally in PCGS or PMG graded holders by now. All right, another kind of like mainstay in the variety world of Jefferson Nickel's 1939 doubled Monty nickel is just spectacular. One of the most strongest double dies that you will come across in the series. This one right here, another decent example, albeit pretty well circulated. This one sold for $64.95 with 17 bids. Now, here's the other much later progression, and the pictures are not good on this one. We don't have full obverse and reverse pictures, but you do have the main kind of like base of what the retained cud or interior die break version of this progression, kind of like the previous coin that we saw a few slides ago. They're all 2021, so let's just get that out of the way. You have that pretty substantial interior die break right by the date right there. Again, take full pictures of the obverse and reverse. This seller ended up settling. I'm saying settling like it's like a bad thing. $495 is a fixed buy it now listing. It didn't last that long, needless to say. It probably lasted maybe a day or two. This particular stage is always much more coveted and sells for a little bit more money. Again, this is realistic money right here. They are still out there. Make sure you're taking advantage of the hunt before 2022's flood circulation. So $495 on a buy it now hit. And then finally, we're going to end it off on this beautiful 1944 Lincoln wheat cent. And it's mid-state, it's gorgeous, it's an uncentered broad strike, which is what you don't see that often on these. You're more apt to see off-center strikes than you would broad strikes. But this is a very nice high-end version of this coin that will certainly make its way into a collection that deserves it. Sold for $86.46 with 27 bids. Just a beautiful way to end the PCMR for the week. Hopefully you guys got a little bit of inspiration to go out there and do a little hunting of your own, because these are real coins and it's real money. And it's a great way to supplement your income. If you find the government checks are, running a little thin or non-existent, let's go ahead and do something that's going to be fun, interesting, and, equitable for everyone. But that's going to go ahead and do it. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my video if you enjoyed today's content. As always, Coinaholics, we are discovering together each and every single day. But that's going to go ahead and do it. You guys have a great Super Bowl weekend if that's your thing. And I'll see you on the next coin video. So long.